Hello there, pretty people of the internet, and welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry it's been a while, but I've been very sick for the last week, which you can probably hear and see. Train coming at you. And the week before that, my boyfriend came on sort of like a spontaneous visit, so I've been pretty occupied, which also means that I haven't read as much as I wanted to. But I have still read 11 books for fun-ish in January and February. So this is my January and February reading wrap up. The first book I read this year was 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. It's about a girl who commits suicide, but she has recorded 13 reasons why she chose to do so on these little cassettes that she's sending out to different people who have somehow been involved in her decision making of taking her own life. I think I would have liked this book a lot better if I read it when I was younger, but reading it now I just didn't really sympathize with the characters. It felt very sort of worn out and childish. Not that taking your own life is childish, but just the story and how it's told didn't really appeal to me, but it's gonna be like a TV show now, I think. So I felt like I had to read it because I said I would do so it was about time. I ended up giving 13 Reasons Why 3 out of 5 stars, I think. Yeah, I did. The next book I read was Your Inner Critic is a Big Jerk by Danielle Creasa. Such a fun little self-help book, a very short and snappy book on why you should just go ahead and do the things you love and don't let fears and excuses hold you back from pursuing your creative projects. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I think everyone should read it because it's great. The next book I read was Why Not Me by Mindy Kaling. Super fun. She's very real, very original. She's very much like a no bullshit lady in Hollywood, and I love it. I bought it mainly because it looked really pretty, and I love the title, you know, like Why Not Me. I read it on my flight back from the US and like a bit the next day. Give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Fun, refreshing, nothing sort of revolutionary in there. Next up-ish, I read The Russo-Japanese War of 1905 to 1905 from Essential Histories by Geoffrey Jukes. Just about the history of the Russo-Japanese War. Very sweet because it has a lot of pictures. Short, easy, 4 out of 5 stars. I think the next book I finished was Praying for Your Future Husband by Robin Gunn and Tricia Goyer. Again, a book I think I would have enjoyed if I was a lot younger. Maybe if I was like in a Bible group when I was like 13, I would have loved it. No, too old. It's sort of like a book that could have been a poster. 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I actually really enjoyed, and that was Boy Snowbird by Helen Oyeyemi. It says it's sort of like a retelling of Snow White, but it isn't at all. It's just like the name and sort of that stepmom relationship. It's about a boy who lives in the American South in the 50s, I think. Yeah, 50s. Marries this man and has a stepdaughter, Snow, that she chooses to send away, and gets another child, Bird. When Bird is born, Boy realizes that her husband comes from a lineage of African Americans, but they're all very white, so they don't look African American. And in the South in the 50s, this is sort of like a big topic and a big problem, and I think it's a beautiful telling of race and family relations. The characters are all sort of strange, which I really like. They're very out there, they're different, they stand out in my memory. It's a lot of beautiful imagery and use of symbolism, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Apparently the next book I read was The First Total War, which is also a book on history. Meh, it was fine. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. let me know if you want me to talk about history books, because that's basically all I read. Besides the fun books, totally good introduction. The next book I read was on my iPad, and that was The Devil's Sandbox by, all these names, John Bruning. I read this book because my boyfriend read it for school.
And he was doing sort of a project on it on his own, so I read it to be able to talk with him about it. And he was basically had to read it for a military science class because the author of the book is about the war in Iraq and the American battalion that was sent there, and it's sort of like his battalion. So if my boyfriend had joined the military like 10 years earlier, he would have been in that group. So sort of more of like what he does when he goes away from military training, what to prepare for if you are deployed and things like that.
I thought it was a lousy narrative. The book was way too long. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's just like every story was basically the same. All the characters ended up being the same. And I think the book was more written for the families of the people who were there, more so than to sort of revolutionize the way we think about American troops being deployed in Iraq. And in that sense, I thought it was really beautiful and very respectfully done. You know, a lot of these people died, but I don't think the book itself was great. Sorry. The next book I finished was The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I absolutely love this. I made a review of it that I will link somewhere on the screen and in the description box down below. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Read it and watch the review if you want more details on it. Next up, I finished The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo by Amy Schumer. She is also super fucking funny and keeps it real. It's a lot of silly stories and like fun little chapters, but also very real things about gun violence and domestic abuse and rape. And I have so much respect for Amy after reading this book. And she has worked her ass off to get where she is. And I think that's what I like the most about these autobiography or memoirs or stories from famous people, is to read exactly how hard they work to get to where they are. It's sort of easy to see, especially people like Amy, as sort of like an overnight sensation. You know, she wasn't there and then she was there in Trainwreck and then everyone loved her. But she's been working hard for like over a decade to get to where she is. And I find her very inspiring and definitely a woman I would love to meet and have a chat with and spend some time getting to know better. I think I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Because I'm trying to save my 5s. And the last full book I read in February was Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. This is sort of a follow-up on To Kill a Mockingbird, but at the same time I think this was written before To Kill a Mockingbird. It's about Jean Louise, her scout, when she's an adult. She's 26. She's living in New York and she's coming back to Maycomb, I hope I'm saying that right, to the south, and is sort of shocked by how backwards it seems, how trapped she feels there, how she feels betrayed by the racism that's in the community and in her dad and her partner and everything. I think it was a good book, an important book. Not as good as Go Set a Watch or To Kill a Mockingbird. The first half of the book was basically like a completely different story, with just like flashbacks and fun, and then the second half is when it gets sort of down and dirty with all the racism and those problems and sort of the fundamental philosophy and way of thinking behind the members of the city council that are sort of the very racist people here. How she sees it, how her views are so different, even though she has been raised in the same environment and things like that. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars as well. 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, those were the books I've read in January and February. I have half read or read like 3/4 of a lot of history books that I have not included, just because they're not that interesting, and it's sort of more because I had to than because I really wanted to. But let me know if you want any reviews on history books, because I read a lot of those. Tell me in the comments below the best book you read in January and or February. Anyways, I'm gonna go back to studying, back to reading, back to getting better and getting all of this figured out. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye!